FLIGHTZ, bitch, you know, for sure. You're not listening to the Mind of an Aries Moon. I'm the Archangel Uriel, and I'm here to carry out God's duties and motherfucking responsibilities. And right now I want to talk about Chiron. Chiron sliding into motherfucking Aries. Now, you know what I'm saying? Let's talk about Chiron, because I can actually break down what an asteroid will be in your body. But before we actually break that down first, I want to keep it on an astrological standpoint. So let's talk about what is Chiron. Chiron is the wounded healer. Why is that? Now, if you was to experience Chiron yourself, you would start to understand the energies it give off. So for the most part, yeah, it's the wounded healer. But it just helps you how to heal wounds. So this motherfucker brain turbulent situations. That's why sometimes I don't even like to call it the motherfucking wounded healer. It ain't all nice, peachy, and sweet. It creates circumstances for you to go through to stumble and fall and scrape your motherfucking knee. But throughout that circumstance and situation, you learn how to heal yourself. So when you go through those situations or those stumbles and falls again, or the crawling situations before you walk again, you actually know how to heal yourself and not let it overwhelm you or overtake you or overthrow you. So that's what motherfucking Chiron represents. But now we got to get into a little deeper, because I don't think people clearly understand from an astrological standpoint. Now, it's in Aries. So Aries is cardinal fire, initiating and creating new ways of how to see and feel about things. And it's just getting up out of Pisces. But what people need to understand is this, that when we talk about asteroids, the Chiron is a motherfucking centaur. So when you hear things like centaur or stars or asteroids or things that's correlated to centaurs, that's letting you know it's in our realm of reality. AKA, it's in the body that we are in. It's in the being that we are in this astral realm. You know what I'm saying? So as far as the centaur and the centaur constellation, this is the, we are blood vessels within that bigger blood vessel. Within the Dracolian constellation. That's the bigger blood vessel. And through its point of view, it's seeing the universe out through a lot of other beings. But before we get there though, as far as being an asteroid, now this asteroid is a centaur asteroid, which tells you it's close to our space and location. You see what I'm saying? Because it's a centaur, so it's very close to us. So when you get objects, outer objects and shit like that, celestial bodies or stars or lights or asteroids that's close, the influence is going to play out in a more locational aspect. So it's not going to be like an overall influence like something that's higher than it, like Venus or something like that and things of that nature. Now when you look at Chiron, Chiron was orchestrated and manifested in the same space around where Saturn is at. Around that space and location between Saturn and a few other planets. So that's kind of letting you know where it originated at. So for the most part, the influence, that's going to be our main influence that we get from Chiron as far as a location aspect. Now, what do I mean by a location aspect, right? Now, Chiron is in Aries, which means that it's going to be the furthest away from us as far as where it's at, and far as where we at as a civilization. So it being in Aries means it's further away from us. So its travels and rotation is going to appear a lot slower than us. So when I say we're, I mean as far as the Western civilization. So when Chiron goes into Aries, it's more correlated to the Eastern civilization. So for the most part, the Western, I keep saying we, but anybody who's on the Western aspect of the continents or whatever like that, you don't necessarily have to deal with Chiron at the moment. With Chiron going in Aries actually means it's actually going to hit China and things of that nature. So they have to deal with the influence of Chiron. Now Chiron ain't done with us yet, because I do believe it's going to go into retrograde. So it's going to slide back into Pisces. So it's not done with us yet. You see what I'm saying? But from Libra to Pisces is when Chiron affect the Western civilization, and from Aries to Libra, I said Libra to Pisces, right? Yeah, Libra to Pisces is when it's covering and it gets the effects on the Western side of things, and then from Aries to Libra is when it spans more on the Eastern aspect. You see what I'm saying? So as far as a Western civilization, you don't have to really worry about the influence of Chiron. You see what I'm saying? Until it slide back into Pisces. But then once it go back to direct, right, they're going to have to deal with it for like 8 or 9 years and things of that nature, because that's how long it's going to be over there, and they're going to have to deal with Chiron. So that's what you need to understand also. You need to understand astronomy to a level of degree also, because positioning is everything. So just the position that it's going to be in is going to have lack of influence over the Western civilization, and it's going to have more influence over the Eastern civilization. So it going through Aries and it starting to get all this extra light from Draco and Cepheus and all, and the royal family and all that shit. They're going to be participating and receiving the information from Chiron as far as the Eastern civilizations. Now, the more that they try to initiate and create a new way of how to see and feel about things, this is when they're going to experience a turbulent or experience a stumble and fall as a civilization, based upon Chiron going through Aries and then going all the way, having to travel all the way through Libra before it hit back to the Western civilization. What we was learning from Chiron, and it travels much faster once it hits Libra, because to us it's actually where we at. So that's, I mean, as far as the Western civilization, so it will be right on our heads, like right influencing us. And during those periods of time, you know what Chiron is, and take that to consideration of what house or what sign is traveling through at the time. So when it slide back into Pisces, anytime we try to be too mutable into our way of dealing with our emotions and feelings, being too lost in our imaginations and dreams, try to utilize too much wisdom and knowledge, that's when we're going to experience our stumbles and falls and get a wake-up call and things of that nature. And we have been dealing with that as far as the Western civilization from the whole time it was going through Pisces. So now that it's going through Aries, this is something that the Eastern civilization got to deal with now. And the way that the asteroid relationship with them is in the aspect of what signs it go through, just by default, based upon positioning and location. So you know, Chiron is going to be over there for them, and it's going to be a lot further away. So it's going to seem a lot longer of the travel period. So we all getting the influence, but I'm just trying to break it down to what area and location is catching the most influence. So once it goes direct and go fully into Aries, you know, Western civilizations and cultures don't necessarily, it's like it's out of our face. We don't necessarily have to worry about Chiron. And all the Eastern motherfuckers, now they have to deal with Chiron problems and situations and shit like that. So that's why it's important to know that. But Chiron and Aries in general, you know what I'm saying? Anytime anyone is going to try to initiate and create a new way of how to see and feel about things in the time period of it going through Aries, is going to experience a time. Now, Western, y'all can access this due to the angles. Like right now, we got the Sun in Leo. So the more we access the Sun, that'll be the only time the Western civilization will be able to take a piece of the Chiron energy and try to utilize it for themselves and not let it just affect them if they're not into astrology. If you're a person who actually know about rituals or spells, or a person who like to access and manifest and law of attraction and shit, if you're a person who's actually into this kind of shit, then you actually know what I'm talking about right now. See, Chiron is the furthest away from the Sun when it's in Aries. So by the Sun being in Leo, this will be the only way you can even channel Chiron properly when Chiron start going through Aries, Taurus, and Gemini and Cancer and shit like that. The only way you will be able to properly even channel it, because even though Chiron to us is closer, so it may be up under where our Sun may travel a lot of times, not under it, but for the most part, you get what I'm trying to say, like through the same location, say when it goes through Leo and things of that nature. That's going to be at a whole nother time period. So when the Sun is traveling through Leo at that time, the accesses and the energies that Chiron is going to be motherfucking carrying is going to be some other motherfucking shit. You know what I'm saying? That's correlated to some shit of its traveling, and everybody going to experience stumbles and falls over what they try to see or what they're trying to actually do. But I don't want to talk about anything in the future right now, because people start talking about and prophesizing and shit like that. So, you know what I'm saying? Even though that shit is real, but we're going to stay up to date. We're going to talk about today. So, you know what I'm saying? When we talk about Chiron being in motherfucking Aries, it's far away right now. So, for the most part, influences and accesses, you're going to try to get to it. You got to go through the motherfucking alignments that's happening that share resonation with it, that resonate with Chiron. But as far as Eastern cultures, they're going to have natural access to this. Now, natural access doesn't mean it's a good or bad thing, because they can utilize it for something good and utilize it for something bad. You know what I'm saying? But Chiron is going to show you how to heal yourself. So if you're doing something that's bad, you're going to experience the stumble and fall for you to heal yourself. Now this is going to play out through the technology and the information and the movies and shit like that the Eastern cultures make. And their spiritual systems and shit like that. So it's on them right now. You know what I'm saying? It was just on us for a long time. It's on Eastern cultures right now. So, you know, keep that in mind. But I do them all. I do Western, Eastern, Northern, South, Southern, whatever fucking culture it is. I know all the fucking cultures. But when anything that's in Aries, that correlates to the Eastern culture. So your head and your face and is pointed towards the east of the being that we are in. That's what you need to understand. The being that we are in, what's north to the being that we are in, is east to us. See, a lot of y'all are lost because y'all have been raised by spiritual beings that taught y'all how to create shapes and forms and bodies, how to stand up right. So you don't actually know where you at anymore. So you just know where you at within the being, but you don't know how to know where you at the same way where the being is at. And y'all both in the same spot at the same time. So you don't know how to do that shit. So your ideas, consciousness, the stuff you look at, the stuff you get information from, how you receive the information, come in that way. That's what make even twins differently. Because y'all was born at different seconds. So just based upon positioning and where y'all standing, and how, just based upon that, y'all got different ideas and different concepts. Because y'all not within the one thing looking out of the same vehicle. You see what I'm saying? So just based upon position is giving you a different perspective. This is how we get space within space. Concepts and spirits being born and shit like that. You know what I'm saying? And how you can pick a side and why people fighting over space in the first place. But let's get into another video. But Chiron is going to take you that because it's a centaur being that rule this space. And Chiron is just a smaller version, well, a lesser form of that spirit that's playing out in our realm of reality to let us know that we're within that body of being. So you talk about things like Ganymedes, you know what I'm saying? You're talking about relationships with that Uranus didn't have with motherfuckers. And when y'all be hearing like shit like incest and shit like that, that's the mythology stories of mankind trying to correlate these energies to how men do things. But when we talk about 4th, 5th, and 6th dimensional things, we're talking about two planets aligning each other. Now, Saturn and Uranus, goddamn it, you goddamn right, they motherfucking two masculine ass goddamn planets. But that don't stop them from having an alignment or an angle, and that's how sex plays out in the 4th, 5th, and 6th dimension. When two lights, two information could join together. So when we come down here and we can build on something based upon a conversation or information amongst each other, we're actually having sex. Both of our bodies are coming to, whether they're the lightest bodies, aka our thought forms, or whether we come together physically. But for the most part, our thought forms are bodies that we create, and if it aligns together, aka both of us are adding on good ideas to each other, that's like sex. So don't get lost in sex. Sex is just an energy signature. Sex is just when two energies come together to create another energy. That's it. You see what I'm saying? So once you understand it in that aspect, you don't get lost into when somebody say sex, and then you get lost into man-made versions of it, and then you don't know how to correlate that to the universal aspect of sex. So then now you limit your own brain and knowledge into how to even perceive certain things. So when a person like Archangel Uriel tell you that there's sextiles and trines and planets are having sex, that's two masculine energies, your ass can't get out of the third dimensional, lower animalistic version of your mind to say something like something is gay or something like that when we talking about that shit. See what I'm saying? So I don't even like talking to a lot of third dimensional motherfuckers sometimes. Now, if we talking about some third dimension shit, then we could talk about who gay or who not. But when I'm talking about some planetary 4th, 5th, and 6th dimensional shit, motherfucker, we not even talking about humankind vessels. Get your fucking mind right. Flight boss, bitch. Goddamn air. Then fucked up my circle. Can't do that. Can't do that.